Guys, it was plugged in. It just cut me off. Okay. I need a hold. This can be unreliable sometimes. Okay. All right, y'all. We back. We're back on YouTube. This is crazy. Okay. Yep, it's recorded. So I'm gonna just pick up where I left off, right? Okay, and last thing I was saying was that it's a really good possibility that they weren't eating meat because they sold all of their livestock in order to get food from Egypt, right? Okay. So I just go back here. I was only on like verse 3. No, I'm sorry, 5. We'll just start it over. Okay. Nehemiah chapter 5. About this time, some of the men and their wives raised a cry of protest against their fellow Jews. They were saying, "We have such large families. We need more food to survive." Others said, "We have mortgaged our fields, vineyards, and homes to get food during the famine." And others said, "We have had to borrow money on our fields and vineyards to pay our taxes. We belong to the same family as those who are wealthy, and our children are just like theirs. Yet we must sell our children into slavery just to get enough money to live. We have already sold some of our daughters, and we are helpless to do anything about it. For our fields and vineyards are already mortgaged to others." When I heard their complaints, I was very angry. After thinking it over, I spoke out against those nobles and officials. I told them, "You are hurting your own relatives by charging interest when they borrow money." Then I called a public meeting to deal with the problem. At the meeting, I said to them, "We're doing all we can to redeem our Hebrew relatives who have had to sell themselves to pagan foreigners, but you are selling them back into slavery again. How often must we redeem them?" And they had nothing to say in their defense. Then I pressed further. What you are doing is not right. Should you not walk in the fear of our God in order to avoid being mocked by the enemy nations? I myself, as well as my brothers and my workers, have been lending the people money and grain, but now let us stop this business of charging interest. You must restore their fields, vineyards, olive groves, and homes to them this very day, and repay the interest you charge when you lent them money, grain, new wine, and olive oil. So we know also that's in Yahuah's instructions to us, like we're not to charge interest to family members, right? You can charge it to the foreigner and anybody else if they come to borrow something, but if a family member borrows $10, you only should expect the $10 back from them, right? Okay. They replied, "We will give back everything and demand nothing more from the people. We will do as you say." Then I called the priests and made the nobles and officials swear to do what they had promised. I shook out the folds of my robe and said, "If you fail to keep your promise, may Yahuah shake you like this from your homes and from your property." The whole assembly responded, "Amen." And they praised Yahuah, and the people did as they had promised. For the entire 12 years that I was governor of Judah, from the 20th year to the 32nd year of the reign of King Artaxerxes, neither I nor my officials drew on our official food allowance. The former governors, in contrast, had laid heavy burdens on the people, demanding a daily ration of food and wine, besides 40 pieces of silver. Even their assistants took advantage of the people. But because I feared Yahuah, I did not act that way. I also devoted myself to working on the wall and refused to acquire any land. And I required all my servants to spend time working on the wall. I asked for nothing, even though I regularly fed 150 Hebrew officials at my table, besides all the visitors from the other lands. The provisions I made for each day included 1 ox, 6 choice sheep or goats, and a large number of poultry. And every 10 days, we needed a large supply of all kinds of wine. Yet I refused to claim the governor's food allowance because the people already carried a heavy burden. Remember, oh my God, all that I have done for these people, and bless me for it. All right, Nehemiah chapter 6. Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem, the Arab, and the rest of our enemies found out that I had finished rebuilding the wall and that no gaps remained, though we had not yet set up the doors and the gates. So Sanballat and Geshem sent a message asking me to meet them at one of the villages in the plain of Ono, but I realized they were plotting to harm me. So I replied by sending this message to them: I am engaged in a great work, so I can't come. Why should I stop working to come and meet with you? 4 times they sent me the same message, and each time I gave them the same reply. The 5th time, Sanballat's servant came with an open letter in his hand, and this is what it said: There is a rumor among the surrounding nations, and Geshem tells me it is true, that you and the Hebrews are planning to rebel, and that is why you are rebuilding the wall. According to his reports, you plan to be their king. He also reports that you have appointed prophets in Jerusalem to proclaim about you, look, there is a king in Judah. You can be very sure that this report will get back to the king. So I suggest that you come and talk it over with me. I replied, there is no truth in any part of your story. You are making up the whole thing. They were just trying to intimidate us, imagining they could discourage us and stop the work. So I continued with the work with even greater determination. Later, I went to visit Shemaiah, son of Deliah and grandson of Mehetabel, who was confined to his home. He said, let us meet together inside the temple of Yahuah and bolt the doors shut. Your enemies are coming to kill you tonight. But I replied, should someone in my position run from danger? Should someone in my position enter the temple to save his life? No, I won't do it. I realized that Yahuah has not spoken to him, but that he had uttered this prophecy against me because Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. They were hoping to intimidate me and make me sin. Then they would be able to accuse and discredit me. Remember, oh my God, all the evil things that Tobiah and Sanballat have done. And remember Nodiah the prophet and all the prophets like her who have tried to intimidate me. So on October the 2nd, the wall was finished, just 52 days after we had begun. When our enemies and the surrounding nations heard about it, they were frightened and humiliated. They realized this work had been done with the help of our God. During those 52 days, many letters went back and forth between Tobiah and the nobles of Judah. For many in Judah had sworn allegiance to him because his father-in-law was Shechaniah, son of Arah, and his son Jehonahan was married to the daughter of Meshullam, the son of Berechiah. They kept telling me about Tobiah's good deeds, and then they told him everything I said. And Tobiah kept sending threatening letters to intimidate me. Nehemiah chapter 7. After the wall was finished and I had set up the doors and the gates, the gatekeepers, singers, and Levites were appointed. I gave the responsibility of governing Jerusalem to my brother Hananiah, along with Hananiah and the commander of the fortress, for he was a faithful man who feared Yahuah more than most. I said to them, do not leave the gates open during the hottest part of the day, and even while the gatekeepers are on duty, have them shut and bar the doors. Appoint the residents of Jerusalem to act as guards, everyone on a regular watch. Some will serve at sentry posts and some in front of their own homes. At that time, the city was large and spacious, but the population was small, and none of the houses had been rebuilt. So my God gave me the idea to call together all the nobles and leaders of the city, along with the ordinary citizens for registration. I had found a genealogical record of those who had first returned to Judah. This is what was written there. Here is the list of the Hebrew exiles of the provinces who returned from their captivity. King Nebuchadnezzar had deported them to Babylon, but now they returned to Jerusalem and the other towns in Judah where they originally lived. Their leaders were Zerubbabel, Jeshua, Nehemiah, Sariah, Reliah, Nehemiah, Mordecai, Bilshan, Mespar, Bigvai, Rehum, and Bana. This is the number of the men of Israel who returned from exile. The family of Parosh, 2,172. The family of Shephatiah, 372. The family of Arah, 652. The family of Pahath Moab, descendants of Jeshua and Joab, 2,818. The family of Elam, 1,254. The family of Zatu, 845. The family of Zaki, 760. The family of Bani, 648. The family of Bebai, 628. The family of Azgad, 2,322. The family of Adonakam, 667. The family of Bigvi, 2,067. The family of Aden, 655. The family of Ater, who are the descendants of Hezekiah, 98. The family of Hashum, 328. The family of Bezai, 324. The family of Jorah, 112. The family of Gebar, 95. The people of Bethlehem and Netophah, 188. The people of Anathoth, 128. The people of Beth Asmaveth, 42. The people of Kiriath Jearim, Kirpha, and Beeroth, 743. The people of Ramah and Geba, 621. The people of Michmash, 122. The people of Bethel and Ai, 123. The people of West Nebo, 52. The citizens of West Elam, 1,254. The citizens of Hiram, 320. The citizens of Jericho, 345. The citizens of Lod, Hadid, and Ono, 721. The citizens of Sinai, 3,930. These are the priests who returned from exile. The family of Jedediah through the line of Jeshua, 973. The family of Immer, 1,052. The family of Pashur, 1,247. The family of Hiram, 1,017. These are the Levites who returned from exile. The families of Jeshua, Kadmiel, who are the descendants of Hodiah, 74. The singers of the family of Asaph, 148. The gatekeepers of the families of Shulam, Ater, Talman, Akub, Hatiah, and Shobai, 138. The descendants of the following temple servants returned from exile: Zia, Hashufa, Taboth, Keros, Siha, Padan, Lebanah, Hagabah, Shalmai, Hanan, Gidel, Gehar, Raiah, Rezin, Nekoda, Gazam, Uzzah, Pasia, Besai, Meunah, Nephushim, Bakuk, Hakufa, Harhur, Bezluth, Mehida, Harsha, Barkos, Sisera, Tema, Neziah, and Hatifa. The descendants of the servants of King Solomon returned from exile: Sotai, Hassophereth, Peruda, Jala, Darkon, Gidel, Shephatiah, Hatil, Pokereth, Hazabaim, and Ami. In all, the temple servants and the descendants of Solomon's servants numbered 392. Another group returned at this time from the towns of Tel Melah, Tel Harsha, Karub, Aden, and Immer. However, they could not prove that they or their families were descendants of Israel. This group included the families of Deliah, Tobiah, and Nekoda, a total of 642 people. 3 families of priests, Hobiah, Hakos, and Barzillai, also returned. This Barzillai had married a woman who was a descendant of Barzillai of Gilead, and he had taken her family name. They searched for their names in the genealogical records, but were not found, so they were disqualified from serving as priests. The governor told them not to eat the priest's share of food from the sacrifices until a priest could consult Yahuah about the matter using the Urim and the Thummim, the sacred lots. Hold on, 66. There's another chapter we read that is almost identical to this chapter. That's why I'm pausing. I was like, wait a minute. We didn't read this. Hold on. Yeah, there's another chapter. That's almost word for word is this chapter. I was just making sure I didn't skip to the wrong chapter by mistake. Okay. So a total of 42,360 people returned to Judah, in addition to 7,337 servants and 245 singers, both men and women. They took with them 736 horses, 245 mules, 435 camels, and 6,720 donkeys. Some of the family leaders gave gifts for their work. The governor gave to the treasury 1,000 gold coins, 50 gold basins, and 530 ropes for the priests. The other leaders gave to the treasury a total of 20,000 gold coins and some 2,750 pounds of silver for the work. The rest of the people gave 20,000 gold coins, about 2,500 pounds of silver, and 67 ropes for the priests. So the priests, the Levites, the gatekeepers, the singers, the temple servants, and some of the common people settled near Jerusalem. The rest of the people returned to their own towns throughout Israel. In October, when the Israelites had settled in their towns, and that's where the chapter ends, like it ends halfway through the sentence. And then it starts Nehemiah chapter 8, right? So either some of this, all of this should have been taken over there. Let me just read this sentence. I'll go back. Hold on. This was like 73 verses. Okay. The section starts, Ezra reads the law. In October, when the Israelites had settled in their towns, we're just going to read this first right here. Section. All the people assembled with a unified purpose at the square just inside the water gate. They asked Ezra the scribe to bring out the book of the law of Moses, which Yahuah had given for Israel to obey. All right, so we'll stop right there. Ezra is about to stand and read the scrolls, read the book of the law. Right, he's gonna stand before the people. So when we pick this up tomorrow, I'll go back to the very last half sentence in chapter 7 of Nehemiah, and we'll just go through and we'll finish reading it all. Seems like something is missing. I think they just divided it up. Somebody wasn't paying attention when they divided it up, and something very well could be missing out of here, right? But we know that Esdras is going to fill in a little bit, and we'll see some of the stuff that was kind of taken. Like this, all of the Bible we have, the Tanakh, is really just a summation of the bigger story. They didn't put all the details in here when they decided to canonize it into one book, right? Okay. So we'll pause right here. Yeah, and they're the ones who added like the chapters for the ease of reading. They added chapters and verses and stuff like this, right? To make it easier for us to read and be able to find different points. Okay. So that was Nehemiah 5, 6, and 7. We're going to hop on over here where we left off at yesterday on page 107 of Fossilized Customs. It doesn't cut off in the version that you're looking at. It definitely cuts off like that in the NLT. What version you got? Okay. Well, I'm waiting for him to put his version in there. All right, y'all. So we're picking this back up. This is the last thing we was talking about yesterday, the Roman beast system that we're living in, right? Okay. So the development of the deception, the NLT, you're looking at the online version or the actual hardback? Because that's what I was reading from the NLT. And I'm using the one on Bible Gateway. You using Bible Gateway? I know it's a few different online versions, but I always use online Bible Gateway. That's weird. Yeah. So they're definitely downloaded version online. Okay, yeah. So I didn't download the version to my computer. So it could be some updates. I don't know. I just always go to the website and look at the one that's live daily up there, right? So yeah. We know there's discrepancies throughout. Okay, y'all. The development of the deception. The dragon who wages war against the covenant and bride of Mashiach or Yahuah, controls the kingdoms presently. He institutionalized the power of his religion and centralized the implementation of his plan in the seat of the most powerful empire, Rome. Roman history. Pagans worshiped the sun and used fire, the hearth, wreaths, circles, pillars, bells, and many other items seen today as relics of their rituals. Some of the early Roman beliefs came from the Etruscans, Greeks, Egyptians, Persians, and of course, Babylonians. The central foundation of Roman nationalism began at Roma, the original name of the city and language of the Proto-Empire. The mythology of the Romans taught that the empire began with two orphaned boys named Romulus and Remus, who were nurtured by a she-wolf.
Mom, you buy me toothbrush, my bicycle?
What?
No, Mom, keep it
You want
down.
that plugged in? I mean, you want that tucked in like that? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you did that on purpose. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Your toothbrush should be in my bathroom.
They locked it.
Okay, well, wait till he come out. Okay, y'all. The mythology of the Romans taught that the empire began with two orphaned boys named Romulus and Remus, who were nurtured by a she-wolf. Their importance to the early Romans was observed by a national day of purification associated with the wolf, Latin lupus, that preserved their lives. Each year on February 15th, a purification festival was held, which was called Lupercalia or Wolf Festival. Shalom, Joanne. Two youths who represented Romulus and Remus ran around the city in the nude, laughing and whipping around strips of wolf skins dipped in blood. Unmarried girls exposed their posteriors to be lashed with these bloody wolf hides, supposedly to imbue fertility. That's disgusting. Tell me what video you talking about of his, Joanne. He be kind of shaky sometime on some stuff. But share. Sometimes he do have some good stuff, but sometimes you gotta watch it. But let me know what link. As a part of the ritual, every eligible girl's name was collected and placed in a large vat or jar, and all the young men would select a name from it. This gives us the phrase, luck of the draw. Whatever name a young man would draw out, that girl would be his consort in a festival. This was a very solemn religious process. Lupercalia was changed into Valentine's Day. Ooh, how many know that, right? Lupercalia was changed into Valentine's Day and moved to the 14th after being Christianized. Instead of having nothing to do with the idolatry, it was simply altered slightly and adapted to the new universal religion. This is where we inherit the custom of Valentine's cards and heart-shaped symbols. The shape of the heart is an ivy leaf, the symbol of Bacchus, the male deity of wine and love, orgiastic. He corresponds to Nimrod and Tammuz, and also the archer, Sagittarius, or Cupid. Another name for him is Orion, the hunter. The arrow penetrating the heart symbol represented mating. Bacchus is seen in art wearing a wreath of ivy leaves on his head during his mating rituals. So even the familiar heart symbol comes from pagan Rome and echoes their idolatry as the symbol of Bacchus. Now, I learned about Bacchus. I told y'all about this series that I had watched on Netflix. So that's right there, right? And I learned about him. It was called The Magicians, right? So all throughout there, and when I mentioned it, I was telling y'all about that the Easter one where JC showed up and he was the it was Easter's or Ishtar's festival. It was her big blast of the year. But remember, JC was her son, right? And it's been changed all throughout history. Whatever religion we in, they just changed his name. But all he the son of Tammuz, and Tammuz's mama wife, Semiramis, which is also called Ishtar, Easter, Diana, Queen of Heaven, right? All them different names. But they also have Bacchus in there. Matter of fact, he plays in quite a few of the episodes. So a lot of the pagan and the Roman pagan idolatry type stuff that a lot of people are ignorant of a lot, they kind of showed it all the way through the series. But that's interesting. That's how I actually learned about Bacchus for the first time, and I kind of started looking him up a little bit. So, but you will see all throughout it if you ever go watch it. It's probably not something most of you will watch. But throughout there, it tells you it showed you what he was. He always had wine in his hand. He always was talking about sex or going to lay up with somebody and just different things about his character, So everything about the different gods that they represented in there, that's literally what they did throughout the whole movie. So a lot of the stuff, they just really kind of ingrain some stuff in you so you actually know. So now a lot of times when I hear a lot of these pagan god names, I have like a visual where I can see, although I know it was an actor or whatever, but I thought they did a really good job of kind of pinpointing some of the things that these gods who were no gods at all really did and what they stood for and why people worship them, right? Okay. Rome is established on 7 hills, and each was originally named by the I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, y'all. Etruscans is Etruscans. Etruscans. Okay. There were settlements on 6 of these, but the 7th hill was a boggy, swampy place where the soil was loose. The Etruscans buried their dead there for centuries. Because the graves were shallow, dogs will often go there to dig up and feed on the dead bodies. The Etruscans named this hill Vaticanus, meaning habitation of dogs. Later, a Roman ruler named Caligula drained this site and held enormously popular carnivals, Latin for flesh raising. That's what carnivals mean in Latin. Carnivals mean flesh raising. Caligula was a devotee of Bacchus, and the first time I heard the name Caligula, they put it all in movies. I know mostly everybody here seen the movie Get Out, but Caligula, the family that was taking people into the sunken place or whatever. That video, remember when they took the black guy down into the living room where he was kind of sat in that chair where the mom had the tea. Remember that video that they put on that he watched? The family's thing, it was the Caligula, right? And when I heard it, I was like, oh, that's fun to say, Caligula, right? And I actually began to look it up. I had no clue that some of the stuff was kind of taken from history and Roman gods and what they're doing and kind of mixed all into the bunch and stuff. So, but yeah, just in case you didn't know, if you ever watch Get Out, you heard the name Caligula being spoken in there, right? Okay. The Etruscans named this hill Vaticanus, meaning habitation of dogs. Later, a Roman ruler named Caligula drained this site and held enormously popular carnivals. Carnivals is Latin for flesh raising. Caligula was a devotee of Bacchus and held orgies and drunken parties on a regular basis. The obelisk of Caligula stands today in the center of the chariot wheel design in front of St. Peter's Cathedral, which they have it on the previous page. Is this it? Hold on. I don't know that this is St. Peter's Cathedral. Oh, yeah, it is. So there it is. Okay. Yep, you probably won't be able to see it either. Okay. The obelisk of Caligula stands today in the center of the chariot wheel design in front of St. Peter's Cathedral. Okay. I'm going to show you. It might be like too black and white. Okay. So this is St. Peter's Cathedral, right? So this right here is the chariot wheel. And right here, if you can see it, that's the obelisk. Matter of fact, you've probably seen it on some movies. This whole circle right here. If you watch the movie, I forget it, but we mentioned it. Trina had brought it up. It was a movie with Tom Hanks in there, but he was down at the Vatican. I forget what it is, but it's two parts of it. You got the first one, then you got the second one. But anyway, he was down at the Vatican, and he was the you can find a lot. You can just probably Google St. Peter's Cathedral and you will see this, right? But this is that obelisk right there in the middle of this chariot wheel right there. So that's what it's talking about right there. Let me see if I can get up closer. You might be able to see it a little better. I don't know. It looks kind of blurry on the screen to me, but it's like right there. See that kind of like little small circle right there, but it's right there in the middle of there if you can see it. If you got the book, you can see it, but just in case those ones that don't have the book, that's where it is. Okay. The Etruscans named this hill Vaticanus.
Mom.
Yes.
No, you buy me a bicycle toothbrush.
You want a bicycle toothbrush? I'll look that up today.
Mom, Lord just say I can't get some ice cream.
Well, you're going to have to wait till Elijah comes scoop it for you. Close it up. The Etruscans named this hill Vaticanus, meaning habitation of dogs. Later, a Roman ruler named Caligula drained this site and held enormously popular carnivals, Latin for flesh raising. Caligula was a devotee of Bacchus and held orgies and drunken parties on a regular basis. The obelisk of Caligula stands today in the center of the chariot wheel design in front of St. Peter's Cathedral. Previous page. The Vatican stands on the same hill where the Etruscans bury their dead, so it is an enormous graveyard. The tunnels beneath the Vatican have entire walls made of human bones in certain places. Here is a picture. Make sure I got it up high. That's like a close-up of some of the heads, but then you have the wall. All of these are skulls in the wall. Like they have entire walls made of nothing but human bones and skulls and stuff. So that's what it's talking about. You can see it. It looked kind of dark on the YouTube side. Let me see if I can get some better light. Can you see that? Okay. Okay, here's another picture. I'll show you this. This is it because it starts on the next page. This is the statue of Jupiter. Okay. So now I'm about to read this saying that's right under here under the statue. Okay, it says, I don't always wear a halo in order my feet to be kissed, but whenever I rule the spiritual and temporal realms, I always raise two fingers. Of course, that was his own little saying, right? So he got the two fingers up. See the halo over his head? This is like a telltale sign of like the Roman deities that they worship. They always have this halo or a bright halo around their head. Some people say it's a sign that they were enlightened. Whatever, okay, but they always holding up the two fingers. Even the JC pictures, don't matter if JC white or black, right? No matter if you change the name, they're showing you the same thing, right? Okay, because remember, we're not to worship gods of wood and stone. Any images of anybody down here on earth, you has said you worship me alone, right? Okay. Pictured above is thought to be a statue of Peter. This very image was made by the Romans and was their Jupiter Colossus. It was adopted and renamed Peter, as they will explain to you if you take a tour of the cathedral. On certain occasions, it is dressed up in rich robes and crowned as you see it here, and kissed by throngs of Catholic devotees. The toes are worn smooth from the millions of Catholics and previous Romans who have kissed the statue's foot over the centuries. In the days of Yahuah or Elijah, multitudes are said to have bowed to Baal and kissed him. Pagans, Pagan temples often had a Colossus idol inside. The Lincoln Memorial in Washington is such a Colossus, and the inscription on the wall states, the place is a temple. Under the third tier mitre crown or mitre crown of the image the Pope is about to kiss, the statue of Jupiter / Peter has a round halo placed there by the sun-worshipping Romans to associate images with the sun. Statues, paintings, and reliefs. Say reliefs. That should be relics. And relics often had round golden nimbuses or hoops encircling their heads. It is not good to have zeal without knowledge, nor to be hasty and miss the way. That's Proverbs chapter 19, verse 2. If a Nazarene like Paul were to see this place, he would be traumatized by the spectacle. Next section is called Pagan Clash. As goes the family, so goes the nation. The fall of Rome had several causes, but all scholars agree that it was fundamentally caused by the deterioration of the family unit. The old phrase, all roads lead to Rome, was quite true, and it was because of the efficient and extensive road system that the Roman Empire could conquer, control, and trade so effectively. Their quasi-Persian religion,
Mom,
called Mithraism.
you scoop us ice cream now?
Nah, you gotta wait. Called Mithraism was spread over vast distances, but its center was Rome. During the time of Constantine, a more tolerant policy was adopted toward foreign religions as long as everything could be fused under one universal doctrinal format. With the newly arising Nazarene faith, there was a clash between it and Mithraism, and the pagan rule of Diocletian was perhaps the bloodiest one of all. As a young boy, Constantine had witnessed this clash. As a man, he embraced a policy much different from his predecessors and tried to appease all sides. His Nicene Council established Easter's universal celebration and blended essential pagan customs with Nazarene overtones. The beast's deadly wound, one of multiple fulfillments. During Constantine's rule, he set up a new center for the empire at what he called Constantinople, now renamed Istanbul in Turkey. Since this action abandoned the historical center of the empire at Rome, it accelerated the collapse of the empire. The well-established circulatory system of Roman roads were now useless. Rome fell into ruin, and attackers from the north reduced it to rubble. It became little more than a squatter's camp. By moving the capital or head of the empire, Constantine had inadvertently ripped the head off the Roman Empire. The head was separated from the heart, or the road system. He had also managed to blend the solar religion of Mithraism with the belief in the Nazarene Mashiach, which he confused with the sun. Mithras and Christ were one and the same to him. The following is an overview of the Mithraic doctrine. Another wound to the head, the papacy, the Reformation, 1600s. The Roman religion of Mithraism. Understanding Constantine, Mithraism, and the fertile pagan background environment of the Romans will help explain many beliefs and practices seen today. Mithraism is about the worship of the sun, which was titled Mithras, Solus Invictus, Mithras, the unconquered sun. The mysteries of this religion were revealed only to the initiates, who were predominantly soldiers of the Roman army. They spread this religion all over the civilized world by the way of the good Roman roads. Mithraism was the primary religion of the Roman Empire from BCE 222 through the 4th century CE. It was the chief rival of Christianity, which history shows compromised radically in order to convert pagans into believers. By the 4th century CE, the sect of Yahudism, called Nazarene, no longer existed openly, and Gnostic clones of it had sprung up and began to compete with Mithraism for dominance. One historian said the entire European continent and New World would be Mithric today if Christianity hadn't come along. Other historians have put it another way. Christianity didn't conquer Mithraic paganism. Mithraism blended in and changed names. I would say that right there was 100% true, right? They mixed it in with Christianity and they changed the names of the gods. And we see that progressing as people transition out of the Christianity into the Hebrew roots faith, and they still kind of take along those same things. They just change the names. They haven't seemed to pick that up yet, right? But I'm sure people would quickly throw it away and want to spit on the ground if they had some of the background information of what was going on and what they were ignorantly doing, right? The doctrines, feast dates, rituals, accoutrements, and organizational structure have scarcely been changed at all. The religion of Mithraism itself was the result of a merger of the astrology of the Chaldean priest Marduk or Baal with the Indo-Iranian priest of Mithras. The sun idol Mithras is mentioned in the sacred writings of both cults, the Avesta and the Vedas. The sun idol is called the Lord in both. The Hindu Krishna is called the Lord. As you will recall, the synchronistic lyrics in the song My Sweet Lord by George Harrison, where vocalists chant Hare Krishna interchangeably with Hallelujah. All the while, the song blends the concepts under the impersonal, indefinite, and vague title of Lord. Right? So if you're using that, and you'll probably use it a lot in Christianity, you should probably just put that term Lord away altogether. Hey, turn it down in there, y'all. Because a lot of times you don't realize how they're using it, and a lot of people ignorantly using it. They're using it to worship somebody and multiple gods, and it's not referring to Yahuah at all. Although you may think it is, and that's your intention, that's not what it's doing, right? Lord actually means Baal anyway, right? So if you're saying Lord, you might as well just say Baal, right? Oh, thank you, Baal, right? That's essentially what you're saying. So stop saying Lord, Lord. No matter if it's all caps or one capital letter and the other three letters lowercase, no matter how you put it, it's still Baal. So stop it. Stop the Baal worship. Stop the ignorant Baal worship. Not saying that you should knowingly worship him, but if you're worshiping Baal and you know you worship Baal and you want to worship Baal, then just say Baal. But if you're worshiping Baal ignorantly, thinking you're worshiping Yahuah, put the names away altogether and just call Yahuah by his name like he always said, my name. I'm jealous over my own name. Don't substitute it for anything, right? All right. The Mithraic doctrine. Number 1, the center of the Mithraic sun cult was at Rome. Number 2, the leader of the ritual service was titled Pater, Pater, Latin for father, inherited by the priestcraft of Catholicism against Matthew, and in parentheses it has against Matthew 23:9. They wore crosses as amulets with costumes of black, having Nehru, Nehru collars originating from the Indo-Iranian roots. I believe it's some white collars, right? You see the priests, you got the priesthood, you got some pastors now wearing this garbage, these black robes with these white things. I'm gonna rip that right off. You go take that crap off. I know that pissed some people off, but it's rather you be pissed off and know the truth than be whatever. Y'all get it. Number 3, there was a pater patratus over the paters, a papa or pope, right? Number 4, the hierarchy initiates below pater were called brothers. Number 5, the cult was for men only. Number 6, the cult had the Trinity, Mithras, Rashnu, and Vohu Mana. 3 persons, but yet one. See what that whole 3 in 1 thing in Christianity? Y'all been fooled, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit? No, my G. It's still Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. They just keep changing the names. In the Roman Catholicism is Mithras, Rashnu, and Vohu Mana. And you got all the other different. Oh, somebody did a good video. I think it's like 2 hours long. I want to say, I forgot his name. His channel name is I forget. It's Truth Unveiled. 777. He did a good comparison of all these different religions and how all of them have the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit in them. But it shows you the names of all different ones like that. I'm gonna find his video, but his channel is called Truth Unveiled 777. But his name is actually Chris. You can see. There's a couple people that did it out, but I'm gonna put his. His was really good. I'm gonna put the Trinity. I hope it's still up there. I hope I can find it. It's not that. It's only a couple years old, but I'm gonna share that. It's about 2 hours long, and there's somebody else that did one too that showed the comparison between all the different religions that have that Trinity type thing going on, right? So if you still believe in the Trinity, you are wrong. You need to come out of there. You just need some truth to adjust, right? As you have truth, you can begin to replace the lies with the truth you learn, right? It's good to change, especially if you're walking in ways that are wrong, right? So I bless y'all for change. I bless y'all for good information, right information, so that we can adjust our wayward ways, right? Our ignorant ways a lot of people ready to fight and go to the grave for, right? Whew. I just leave them people alone. They ain't ready yet, because I mean they gets kind of bloody, and I don't want to fight with my brothers and sisters. I realize either you're rejecting knowledge or Yahuah hasn't quite awakened in you or woke you up to that just yet. So I'm gonna leave you alone. Sometimes I see stuff I really want to say something, but I'll watch it. Especially brothers and sisters, especially when it seems like they have good hearts and they're really gun ho. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna leave them alone right now. People probably hasn't revealed it to them yet, and if he has, they're really struggling with it, where they haven't put it away yet, because people want to, especially people. And I love people. I love my brothers and sisters, even the ones that still stuck in Christianity, especially the ones that you can tell that they really have a heart for the Most High, like they really love Him, right? But you can still see the indoctrination mixed in them. I may drop a little something here and there, but I won't go at their heads, right? Because I used to be them. I really used to be them, right? And I believe those ones who really truly have a heart for Yahuah, and they're like, I mean, when Yahuah begins to open their eyes, they're going to come out of all of the lies and the deception. They're going to choose to put it away. They're going to choose to put it away. So some of, even on YouTube, I still follow them. Some of the stuff is like, that's kind of sketchy. Like the brother Joanne, mentioned, kind of sketchy. But I can tell he has a heart for the Most High, right? There's some things that are kind of off. I was like, no. I was like, I'm going to leave them alone for now, right? Because some of them, they will come back and attack you. Like, especially that one, did a whole video on it. That happened a few months ago. But like I said, I'll leave them alone. And as Yahuah opens their eyes, you will actually begin to see the change. They'll begin to put stuff away that they used to believe in, that they used to wholeheartedly teach, like with fire and brimstone they used to teach. You will begin to see them change, right? And some of them struggle with it. Some of them just go away for a little while because, like, man, some of them will delete their videos. But if you go back and you look at, especially like, stop, don't. I said no, close it up. Especially my backup channel. My backup channel is actually my original channel, right? But I changed it as I began to change. I'm like, oh shoot, what have I been teaching? Right? I was like, oh my gosh, like I was like gun ho. My personality has always been kind of funny with teaching and sharing stuff. But I was like, I clearly don't believe that anymore. I do not believe that. But I didn't delete those videos. I left them up there. They're still there for the whole world to see, going all the way back to 2014, right? But I was still hearing Yahuah. But you can see, if you go back and you watch them, you can see the progression and how I've changed and how I have grown. In some areas, it seems like leaps and bounds, from when I first started doing videos in 2014, right, to where I am today. Like, you can see how I've balanced out and became more solid, right? So I said all that. Yeah, it's not an easy journey, and some of my brothers and sisters, like, I'm not gonna call anybody else name, but I only mention that because you mentioned his name here. But there are other brothers and sisters that I follow, and some of the things they still believe in some of the stuff that I came out of, but I'll leave them alone. You know, and I'm like, I was there on that journey. But you can tell some of the stuff they may start trying to mention, but then they kind of hold back on it because of the comments and stuff that people get who may not be quite there yet. And it seems like they're afraid and they back off and they start backtracking, right? And that was one of the things I'm like, Father, I don't ever want to backtrack on the truth, because if this is the truth, I want to preach the truth. If I was teaching something that was wrong, help me to get it right. And I'll go back. Look, I found out this was wrong. I no longer believe this, right? Some people, you no longer believe it, but we still do. Goodbye. And they'll stop talking to you forever, unsubscribe. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like Gwen said, it is not an easy journey, right? As a couple people that I know, we were talking like on the phone, texting back and forth as they began to find out some of these truths. And they still are a big part of the church. They were like serving in ministry and stuff. It's like, oh, how do I was like, well, just sit down and talk to your pastor. Just kind of ask them, you know. I mean, she said she actually went and did that. And what she said, what blew her mind was, she said that her pastor knew all of this stuff. She had a male pastor, whether she's female. Her pastor knew all this stuff. And she said it blew her mind. And she was like, yeah, okay, well, so why aren't you teaching this? And you know what he said? It will bring confusion in his church. So he's just going to kind of keep going with just the basic teachings. And I'm like, and that kind of threw her off. It made her upset. But what happened was he told her, don't come in here creating dissension and stuff and teaching people about this. He said, this is my church. You know, I'm the teacher here. Don't try and starting a little offshoots of preaching this or whatever. He said, I know it's the truth, he said, but we're just trying to give people hope and faith. I'm like, how are you giving people hope and faith and lying to them, or giving them generalized teachers that ain't doing nothing for them, right? And what happened was she was getting really frustrated about that. And she had started doing videos talking about the truth, and she was giving references, pulling stuff up, and she was studying it. But what happened was she really felt some kind of way, because she was also a part of a women's group in a church. And she began to share, not like really going at their heads, but she was just saying, well, did y'all know this or this or this and that? You know what they said to her? And it really bothered her. They asked her if she had joined a cult. She said she was really taken by surprise. And some of them had begun to back away, but she didn't like that because she felt isolated, right? And what happened? It pulled her right back into it. So I watched her now, some of her videos, and she's right back in there. I'm just like, man, it's a terrible thing to wake up, then to choose to go back to sleep because you feel lonely. And the road is not easy, and people don't agree with you, right? Just because people have been teaching and preaching lies for thousands of years, it doesn't make it the truth. It's still lies. It's just lies people have been preaching for thousands of years, right? And so now when the truth comes, it seems like the truth is the lie, and the lie is the truth. And a lot of people, they can't withstand the criticism and the pressure and the people backing away from them. And it's like accusing them where you the one has gotten off, and you're really the one who has turned to truth. And it's hard, you know. So when we find people like-minded that realize, wait a minute, we only supposed to be worshiping the Yahuah alone, they are jewels, right? And it's like, man, it's like we cling on to one another, like it's somebody else out here that knows us, just like Elijah. Remember the prophet Elijah? He was running from Jezebel. Yahuah said Jezebel had killed all the prophets. After the big showdown on Mount Carmel now, showing everybody that there is only one true and living God. He took off running from Jezebel because she threatened to kill him because he had exposed the lies of the false gods and the Baal worship and all this stuff by Yah showing up with what he said, right? And so even he went and he said, Father, Jezebel has killed all your prophets and I alone am left. Like, I'm separated. There's nobody else there. And Yahuah was like, Elijah, calm down. I have 7,000 other prophets that have never bowed the knee to Baal, right? He said, they're there. My people are there. Get back out there and keep teaching the truth to my people. Turn them away from these deaf, dumb, and blind idols that they are worshiping, and let them know that there is only one true and living God, right? You know, so that's why I learned to stop going at the heads of my brothers and sisters who I really know that they love Yahuah. They still just kind of misled a little bit. I leave them alone. I'll pray for them that Yahuah begins to open their eyes, but not just open their eyes, but give them the strength to stand on the truth, even if they think nobody else is there to stand with them, even if they believe like Elijah believed that I'm the only one left. right? But Yahuah said, don't worry. There's more of my people who have not bowed the knee to Baal, right? So, but yeah, that all came about with the whole Trinity thing. And I said I was going to share how the Trinity is exposed in all the major religions, especially Christianity, leading a bunch, right? Okay. So we'll finish with this. Who yet? Oh, okay. I'm going to finish this little section. It's a long section. Let me get to reading. Okay. Who was on what, number 7? No, I read number 6 again. And remember, we're reading over, it's telling you how you can recognize the Mithraic doctrine, right? So we're on number 6. Number 6, the cult had a trinity, Mithras, Rashnu, and Vohumana, 3 persons, but yet one. Number 7, Sunday was kept hallowed in honor of Mithras, the sun, called Mithras Solis Invictus. This has produced our popular name for the first day of the week, Sunday. The pattern of resting on Sunday comes to us directly through what is called the Blue Laws. Everybody heard of the Blue Laws, right? Enforced first throughout the Roman Empire, then through the Western traditions into our New World. The edict was initiated by Constantine I, forbidding officials, artisans, or other merchants from engaging in any work on the Sunday to give honor to the sun, Mithras. And that's essentially what the Blue Laws are, right? Everything was shut down on Sunday to give honor and praise to the sun, right? That's total opposite of what Yahuah said. His people are to rest on the Sabbath. It's like a spinoff of everything, but they had to make everything inclusive so everybody could kind of join into this big mix of garbage. Number 8, there were 5 levels within the hierarchy. Number 9, December 25th was observed as Mithras' birthday, called Natalis Invictus.
TT coming over now?
TT not coming. Ayana coming. Hold on. December 25th was observed as Mithras' birthday, called Natalis Invictus, the rebirth of the winter sun unconquered. Number 10, initiates had to undergo a ritual sprinkling of fusion, which involved being under a bull or Taurus, which is being cut to death, allowed the initiate to become saturated. The custom of bloody bullfights seen in Spain echoed this cult's behavior. The custom of performing Christian baptisms in the spring at Easter time will take on greater meaning as you learn the following information. Oh, buddy. Special value was attributed to the moral virtues of religion, truthfulness, purity, and generosity. Number 12, Mithras would enter paradise, a Persian word itself, also called Elysian fields, nirvana, and the netherworld, by the 3 steps, a good thought. Let me read that again. I was reading it wrong. Okay. Mithras would enter paradise, and in parentheses, it has a Persian word itself, also called Elysian fields, nirvana, and the netherworld. They will enter paradise by 3 steps. The first step is A, the good thought, B, the good word, and C, the good deed. Number 13. The cult supported the divine right of kings, including emperor worship. Number 14, the pater, or father, stood at one end of an oblong room performing mysterious blood rituals. There was an indoor altar at his end on which a victim, or in Latin is called host, was sacrificed. They had a sun-shaped wafer disk like the Egyptians, and the assembly knelt, sat, and stood in unison. It was during this time of the clash when Christianity and Mithraism merged that Jerome translated the Greek writings. What?
You scoop it.
I told you no. I'm sitting here reading. I'm not going to sit and scoop. You got to wait. Put it back over there. It was during this time of the clash when Christianity and Mithraism merged that Jerome translated the Greek writings of the New Testament into Latin, 391 through 403. His real name was Eusebius Hieronymus Sophronius. He took the Greek word staturos, which means beam, stake, or pole, and carried it over to the Latin word cross. So if you ever heard the argument that JC was crucified like on a cross, they'll tell you it wasn't necessarily a cross like we see today. It wasn't a cross, it was a stake or a beam, or what they said. And it's like mistranslated. The whole story is chopped and screwed and made up anyway. So, but that's where that comes from, right? Okay, hush y'all. He took the Greek word staros, which means beam, stake, or pole, and carried it over to the Latin word cross. Y'all see me? Why everybody still trying to talk to me? Wait, Elijah. Elijah said something to them about ice cream. And so Bella done pulled out the ice cream. She didn't half scoop the bowl. Jay saw her. I don't care. They can have it.
Mom, Elijah said we can only have ice cream when you're doing the video.
Well, I'm not done with my video, am I? Okay. All right. He took the Greek word staros, beam, stake, pole, and carried it over to the Latin word cross. This was an important shift in the meaning of the original word. The Hebrew term was nas, N-A-S, used for the word pole that the serpent was lifted up upon. To a Mithric advocate, the cross had a significant religious meaning. It could be represented as an X or a vertical line crossed horizontally. In the spring, when the Mithrians sacrificed a Taurus bull, the sun was crossing the celestial equator and was in the zodiac sign of Taurus. Zodiac actually means animal figures related to our word zoo, Z-O-O. These pagans allegorized or interpreted this as the sun, Mithras overcoming the bull. Girl, they is doing the most. Okay. These pagans allegorized or interpreted this as the sun or Mithras overcoming the bull or crossing the celestial equator. So the cross was their most cherished religious symbol. So remember that when y'all wearing crosses in y'all ears and around y'all necks. It's a sign of the pagan worship of the cross, the stake. But at that stake during that time, it shows that the sun was passing over the passing over the celestial equator. I read this again. Wait a minute, Bella. These pagans allegorized, interpreted this as the sun, Mithras overcoming the bull, crossing the celestial equator. So the cross was their most cherished religious symbol. The cross symbolizes many different pagan cults from around the world, is what the scholars call the symbol of the sun par excellence. The words we have inherited from Jerome's Latin translation include cross, crucifixion, and crozier. So the cross is a Latinism. In one of the Babylonian forms, it was titled crux, C-R-U-X, with an arrow pointed at the high end, representing Nimrod standing on the tower, shooting his hunter arrow at the skies. It was a bow and an arrow. He may have even done this shooting at the constellation Taurus. This is the link with the golden calf or Apis. Remember, Apis, A-P-I-S, is golden calf. We still call the center of the archery target the bull's eye. The sign of the cross was a pagan sign of overcoming. The Babylonian constellation Orion, the hunter archer, represents Nimrod of Babylon. Pagans practiced astromancy, pyromancy, necromancy, and other occult forms of divination, and the cross was intimately linked to their rituals and still is. A black mass uses the cross and was practiced long before Christianity existed. Let's keep our spiritual priorities intact as we move along and see if the mark of the beast can be linked in any way to Sunday, the sun itself in pagan worship and the pagan's symbol of the sun. Since Mother Earth was thought to be fertilized in the spring, Ishtar or Easter, the Babylonian symbol for woman was also a cross with the sun encircled above it. The sun did the fertilizing. If you research Constantine, you will learn he had a vision of the sun with a cross beneath it. The same symbol used for female today in biology, a type of ankh, the ANK, like what you see when you see the Egyptians and stuff. It's a different type of cross. It's the ankh. Matter of fact, if there's a picture. Hold on. We saw it earlier. I'm going to go to it real quick. They showed the different types of crosses. Just in case you missed it and you weren't here for this. If you have the book, it's on page... Not that. Okay, page 27 is one of them, right? Okay, so it's talking about the fertility symbols right here, right? So this right here is like the sign of the female. This represents the cross. This represents the sun with the cross under it that represents the female, and this is representing the male. Remember, Nimrod, the circle represents Nimrod or the sun god, right? And so this is his arrow shooting up towards the sky. Okay, so this is one, but they do have a picture of an ankh in here as well. Hold on. That's what I was actually going for, the picture of the ankh and the other crosses. But if I don't, maybe I skipped over it trying to flip through too fast. But I'll share pictures. But I'm sure everybody here knows what an ankh is. Hold on. No, that's like a Catholic cross. Anyway, I'll share it. I probably skipped too fast and went over it. Hold on. But I'll do the different ones. So just in case you don't, or you can Google and see what an ankh is. Hold on. Just check back in the comments section. Okay. Do I have any more recommendations for more on Nimrod? I do. Let me put that in here. Check back the comment section, y'all. Hold on. Nimrod. So you can learn a little bit more about Nimrod and how he is deceptively still being worshipped today in like every church and every form of religion. They just change the name. Nimrod videos. Okay. Okay, so check the comment section. I pin it in YouTube and I put it in the comment section and Facebook too. And I also put it in the description box on both of them. So you can just go to the link and click it. All right. So, all right, let me go back here. Okay, I'll just read the sentence again. Since the earth mother was thought to be fertilized in the spring, Ishtar or Easter, the Babylonian symbol for woman was also a cross with the sun circle above it. The sun did the fertilizing. If you research Constantine, you will learn he had a vision of the sun with a cross beneath it, the same symbol used for female today in biology, a type of ankh. The circle is also interpreted as the sun, and circuses like the ones held by Caligula were occultic religious displays involving animals of the zodiac and 3 rings. The Olympic Games today uses 5 rings as a logo representing the 5 original planetary deities worshipped in Babylon. How many knew that? Y'all watch the Olympics? When you see them Olympic rings, that each one represents a Babylonian deity, right? And they use it even from when they handing out the medals and stuff and the stairs and how they send all of that stuff. There's a representation of different pagan and deity worship, right? Okay. The Olympic Games today uses 5 rings as a logo representing the 5 original planetary deities worshipped in Babylon. In fact, it is still the custom to carry a torch lit by the sacred fire altar on Mount Olympus to the site of the games. Where the games are held, an altar where the games are held, An altar dedicated to Zeus is lighted with this torch. So all the nations and athletes who participate are unknowingly worshiping Zeus. That's why this book is titled Fossilized Customs, to open your eyes so that you can see them. The whole world follows after the beast through the fossilized customs. So you can see that there are many ways we can be found practicing a lie and having a mark or outward sign of following the beast. Human traditions may appear innocent, but if you can easily trace their origins to ancient paganism, they are abominations. Odd thing. People who are Christians today don't usually ever think of their Jesus as being a Yehudi, nor do they realize he is the rabbi and was called such by many in the Nazarene writings. Yet they also use the excuse that the Tanakh OT was mainly written to Jews and by Jews for Jews, so commandments like observing Sabbaths or making a distinction between the clean and unclean are now irrelevant for them. Oh, let me tell you something. I remember when Yahuah started, and this was the progress of where my mind went to where I am today. As Yahuah started waking me up, right, to something. This was before I had even heard about a fossilized code. We were still going to church. I was pregnant with. I think I was pregnant with Josiah. So Josiah is 8 now. So a little bit before then, I remember. It was a little bit before then. I was still pregnant. But then as I was sitting in church one day, I just opened up Bible and I was in the New Testament, but I had started reading the Old Testament, and then it dawned on me, okay, Jesus wasn't a white guy, right? So that's how that process right there started with unraveling JC and who he was and who he was not, right? So for a couple weeks, I'm like, wait a minute, did you know that JC wasn't white? And I hadn't quite yet latched on to the he's black part, right? It went from, in my thinking, as I began to wake up, I was taught he was white based on all the indoctrination, the pictures and all this stuff, right? Even TV shows, he was white, to realizing, wait a minute, my G, he was located, like all of this is Egypt. This is a place where people of color reside, right? Still going based on what I was taught, Egyptians there and over in Israel, they're like olive colored skin and stuff like that. So it went from white to the olive colored to, wait a minute, Jesus was a Jew, so all this, and like, wait a minute, Hebrew, wait, they were black, wait a minute. So all this stuff. And then I started looking into all these things, and it was like, once you pull that little string on that sweater, the whole sweater begins to unravel. Hence where we are today, realizing, wait a minute, if you unravel this, you have to unravel this, because this was keeping this closed and this was keeping that closed. It's like the rabbit hole just gets deeper, right? And it's like another layer of truth that's being uncovered with each level you go down the rabbit hole. So like, it's like, wait a minute, I got to stop. Either I'm going to get up out this hole or I'm going to keep going down. It's like, but I've already been captured. I was like, I got to see this thing to the end. How many more lies, right? To now we realize that it was Josephus. Josephus was being held as this great person or whatever, but Josephus was a liar, right? I mean, he wrote, he was a great literary writer, right? They wrote stories. You come to find out his whole family, they were great literary writers, right? Just like Stephen King and people who write movies, that's what Josephus were in their time, but they was using the pen and people were reading books. They didn't necessarily have the movies made yet, right? Josephus was like one of the great movie producers, movie stars, right? They can make movies that'll get you like, man, was this a true story? It makes you, they just have that particular gift where they can, their gift of persuasion is like none other, right? And that's what they did with the literary writings of the Gospels, whom, might I add, they never thought it would be turned into a whole religious worship type thing where it's still being worshipped over 2,000 years later, right? They was just writing something to subdue the Yahuah alone worshipers, right? Because they were adamant. They was like, we ain't going up against them, because they are, if you read about them, you would see that they always had problems with those who worship Yahuah alone. Granted, they was doing some shenanigans of their own, But you ain't gonna tell them that Yahuah is not the only God. Although they was adding a little extra stuff to it and sinning, Yahuah told them not to. But you ain't gonna come and make me sin. If I sin, I'm gonna choose to sin on my own. They were sinning on their own, but when Constantine and they was like, well, we need to use wisdom with this people, right? So let's just so we know that they're doing this and their law tells them they're not supposed to do this. But if we go and try and do this, like we give them an open door, like, nope, you leading us astray. So, and they're literally going to fight us. We tired of fighting them and we rarely ever win against them anyway, right? But if they're caught, if Yahuah deems them to be sinning, then they're overtaken by their enemies, right? Okay, so with that being said, they decided to created this whole religious construct to include, it's like the gospel of inclusion, or like the world's religion where everybody can do as thou wilt, right? And then they took this, they created this Messiah and pacified him. I call him a pansy god. You know, that's probably horrible. That sounds like blasphemy to some people's ears, but that's what they did. They took a mighty warrior God who defends his people and created this pansy prototype that everybody worships and turn the other cheek. And this one, Yahuah said, wait, hold on. First of all, now you're not going in there violating people, right? Because Yahuah has standards, he has rules, right? You don't violate anybody. But over here, they tell you if somebody violate you, you just forgive them and go on here. If they slap you one cheek, give them your other one a slap too. Like what? Hold on, wait. Who you said that now? Hold on, because I'm going to check the record what my daddy told us. Yep, he didn't say that. He didn't say we about to fight. You know, so and when you don't know what Yahuah says, you get taken by all of this stuff, and now you have Christians that's so sweet and subservient to everybody and get ran over all the time, and it keeps you going in the circles of doing nothing your entire life until you go to the grave. You accomplish nothing with your life. Nothing, right? You worship a pansy god and it has you doing nothing but forgiving and kissing every sweet body. Oh, Jesus paid it all. I get my reward when I get to heaven. First of all, let's just correct that. You ain't going to heaven. Nobody goes there, right? You're here. You're in the grave, right? You stay here. We ain't gonna get started, but y'all get what I'm saying, right? If you look at it and you step back and you look at your life, especially if you've been a Christian and all this, I'm not saying not to forgive people. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying to forgive people, but it goes into it goes way out off it's unbalanced. It's a way out here to where it causes you to be literally raped, pillaged and raped of everything you have, even your good common sense. And you don't fight back, right? You just forgive everybody. You don't stand up for yourself and all this stuff. If you look, this is what Constantine and them did to pacify and dumb down and water the worshipers of Yahuah alone, right? Okay, look. That's why this book is titled Fossilized Customs, to open your eyes so that you can see them. The whole world follows after the beast through the fossilized customs. So you can see there are many ways we can be found practicing a lie and having a mark or outward sign of following the beast. Human traditions may appear innocent, but if you can easily trace their origins to ancient paganism, they are abominations. Odd thing. People who are Christians today don't usually ever think of their Jesus as being a Yehudi, nor do they realize he is the rabbi and was called such by many in the Nazarene writings. Yet they also use the excuse that the Tanakh or Old Testament was mainly written to Jews and by Jews for Jews. So commandments like observing Sabbath or making a distinction between the clean and unclean are now irrelevant for them. And you see a lot of Christians, and even some of them, we call them Hebrew Christians, we don't even need to do all that. We don't need to keep the feast. Jesus' blood is all, like, they still into the whole Jesus blood sacrifice thing where it still completely. It's like they try and keep and follow half of Yahuwah's commands, but still trying to keep and hold on to the New Testament garbage that's been peddled to them and that they've ingested and don't realize it's poison. And it creates this disgusting looking beast, right? And if you go and look in their comment section, you see mixed comments. different people who are realizing it and are asking about this, but they just don't want to talk about it. They just kind of slap Jesus over all of it and forget all that Jesus paid it all, and we all love one another. We all do this, and we ain't got to do this because that's outdated. We don't need to do that. And if they can't really answer it, they'll hit you with something that they know most people are ignorant about, like with the temple and the sacrifices, right? So you got to understand about that. If you're going to talk to somebody who really thinks, I mean, they really could have a lot of knowledge, but when you start talking to them about this and they don't really know, they'll start slapping you with the sacrifices at the temple. We can't do none of it anyway. None of it was able to be walked in. That's why Jesus had to come. Oh, okay, so let's look at this. So if Jesus had to come and he had a father that was a God and he had a human mother, how still could that be an example for us to walk? Because don't we have a human father and human mothers? We're missing one of the variables that he had, which enabled him to walk out this unwalkable walk of life. I mean, it's unfair. It's completely unfair because, okay, and you can see the garbage going on, and you have the argument between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and they calling, they're saying, they said, well, our father, you know, we know who our father is, and the one who we worship, he's not a bastard. And they was taking short shots at him because he said he has a heavenly father, like no human father, but everybody else had a human father, right? So there was this argument: how could you walk according to how he did if he was half God and half man? If we're all man, how still could we walk in this way? So it's these crazy arguments that get thrown up, and it keeps people going in circles, and nobody ever knows. And if people's like, you know what, I love God, God know my heart, and we just gonna deal with it like that. Like me and my daughter-in-law, my son was talking about this yesterday. Some of the stuff that the young people think about is like, wait a minute, but nobody want to answer these type of questions, which are legit, real questions that a lot of these teachers, they don't know themselves and don't want to tell you that they don't know. They just gonna slap Jesus over it all and just be like, just look to Jesus. He'll go pray, let him reveal it to you, right? And it's like, why can't you just say, I really don't understand that? You make a good point, you know. Well, let's really look into this. Because what happens is all these teachings that they have put out, they don't want to give that up. They're going to have to recant on a lot of stuff that they didn't taught. Once they realize a lot of the stuff that they have been taught is garbage that was peddled to them, that they have regurgitated to the masses, right? And a lot of them don't want to put it away. A lot of them makes their living off of the gospel, right? Because if people find out that the gospel that they're being preached is no gospel at all, they will have to go out here and get jobs. A lot of people not willing to do that. Okay, Joanne, have a good day. You're welcome. So it's those type of things. So we should sit back and use common sense and think about some of these things, right? And ask questions. And don't let people give you crazy answers that still kind of play that Jedi mind trick on you. Because if it's still not making sense to you, they probably still not explaining it the right way, or they're giving you a crazy answer. They're still peddling untruths. They probably don't know themselves. So I'm just saying, just y'all got to start asking questions, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't let people get you with that. Don't question God. Don't you ever question. Why not? And Yahuah said, come, let's reason together, right? You got people. Y'all get what I'm saying. Let me finish reading this because I know it's Saturday, but we already at an hour and 22 minutes. Okay, hold on. Quoting verses from the Tanakh will often be met with a response like, but that's the Old Testament. Likewise, unbelieving Yahudim or Hebrews will not acknowledge the Nazarene writings either. Can you imagine Paul or Peter standing there quoting a passage from the Tanakh, but being told, but that's the Old Testament? Oh, so I didn't realize that was the end of a section. So we'll stop it right here. But you'll have to realize also, even in the New Testament, all they ever had was the Old Testament, right? So you have the Old Testament, and then you have the New Testament that was created, where those in the New Testament are teaching about the Old Testament. A lot of them are taking it out of context. Even in the Old Testament, those who are teaching it are taking it out of the context, or original context of what it was being said and things that was fulfilled back here, right? So you have to be careful about that leaven that's added in between the lines of the loaf. You have to be very careful. You're not going to be able to pick it out if you don't first understand and know what Yahuah has said, right? If you go on to the New Testament first, and that's what you've been taught, that it's going to be really hard for you to be able to transition and realize who the authority is, because you've been taught all your life that JC is the authority, and we've been doing everything in JC name all our life, and this is all we know. Okay, one side, it seems like the truth till it's cross-examined by another party, like the book of Proverbs says. So you've been having only half the story. And even though you may have been seeing miracles or different things happen for you, what you have to understand that all good things come from Yahuah alone, right? Even in our ignorance, a lot of time, Yahuah will still bless us. He will still answer prayers, although we're ignorant of where our blessings come from, right? But there's a time where we should grow up and we know the truth and we walk in truth. It's sad to say a lot of us, we grew up in lies and Yahuah has to teach us. But now that we're older, we should be able to decipher truth from error, put away the lies, even if our parents have taught us. Not that our parents are bad, but if that's all they knew, that's how they grew up, they can't teach you anything different than what they know, right? But now you're older. Think about children. Think about, it's like the same principle with Santa Claus. If you have parents teach you about Santa Claus, even though they may know or may not know, whatever, they teach you Santa Claus is coming, but it's not really Santa Claus, right? Your gifts are not coming from Santa Claus. It's coming from me, your human father and mother, right? It's the same thing. The same thing with JC. People think, oh, my blessings coming from JC. No, they're coming from me. JC, no, he doesn't even exist. He's a made-up character, right? All good things, all blessings come from the living God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? And he said himself, there's not another Savior. There's nobody else. He said, if there is not one. Right. And even when we read through the legends of the Jews or whatever, it gives us a little more detail from some of the other scrolls and manuscripts that are found in multiple nations across the world who have the same documents, right? That Yahuah is the only God. And when you put all the gods up side by side, everybody else is quiet before Yahuah. That's why Elijah was able to have that showdown on Mount Carmel, right? Because all these 850 prophets, the 450 of Baal and the 400 from Jezebel, 850 prophets all up there, right? All of their gods was quiet while they was jumping around, acting a fool, cutting their skin, gushing blood, and nobody said anything. And Elijah began to mock them. Scream a little louder. Your God might be asleep. Oh, he might be away on the business trip. Oh, he might be in the bathroom. Scream a little louder, right? And so at times we can seem like that we're mocking JC. And a lot of times we are. He might be in the bathroom. Scream a little bit louder. He don't hear you. It's Yahuah. It's Yahuah that gives life and breath to everything. Yeah, so yeah, let's see. Shalom, shalom. The New Testament covenant is mixed with the Old Testament covenant and Roman spiritual beliefs. Yes, George, it absolutely is. But you won't even begin to realize that until not saying that you haven't, but it's a good question. Yes. The New Testament is thoroughly mixed with pagan doctrines, but they also, a lot of the stuff, they've taken some of a lot of the stuff from the Old Testament and they kind of just repurposed it, put new names on it, and had it happen in the New Testament, right? But if you know anything about Josephus, they use that principle to kind of help it look like it meshed together. It's a form of writing called typology that they use when they did it. And if you watched the video yesterday, I talked about the book that they did where they broke down all of this stuff and how they constructed the New Testament, because they left all that stuff there. Like, there's historical documents that is uncovered. Like, it's not a secret anymore on how they constructed the New Testament, right? And even created the God. JC, right? This man God, this human man God, right? He's a compilation of a couple different people, and a lot of the stuff that he does and says is changed a little bit, but a lot of it goes hand in hand in step with what Titus did, right? So if you don't have it, I also post the link for that book if you want to look at it, even like the little movie that they did where they went through explaining some of the stuff. But the book, I recommend get the book because it has the references and explain in way more deeper detail than what the hour and 28-minute movie could ever do. So it's a good resource to have for your library if you're doing some research on what the truth is. And all of us should do our due diligence to check into everything we hear to make sure it's the truth, right? because either that information that we decided to own is either gonna help us or it's gonna hurt us, right? So even the stuff I say, that's why I always give y'all references. Go check into it. Go check behind me. Now, I wouldn't purposely lie to y'all. If y'all been here long enough, if I said something that I found out was wrong, I come back immediately. Wait a minute, y'all. Wait a minute. I done found out something. I think I was wrong on this, or somebody may mention something that I may have overlooked, and I go look into. I was like, you're right. You know, and I give them credit, and I'm easily corrected. So I ain't trying to be led astray or lead anybody else astray. We just want the truth, right? So we can walk and live our lives. Families be blessed, walk in a blessing, build, leave a legacy for our children and our children's children, right? Okay, so with that being said, you're welcome, George. The name of the book is called Caesar's Messiah, Dana. And like I said, I put the link in here again. It's been in the last couple of videos, but I'll put it in here again. Just give me a few minutes and I get it all typed up. Joanne, you still here? Okay, sis, we about to close. I know you said you had to go shopping. Okay, y'all. So that's it. That's the reading for today. We'll go ahead and close out and do the blessing. Okay, 112. Actually, 113. All right, y'all. We read Nehemiah 5, 6, and 7. And then we read Fossilized Customs, pages 107 to pages 112. It is Saturday, y'all, May 29, 2021. Day 166 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 835. That is without the Sabbath days or the feast day Sabbath days added into the count, because we rest on those days because Yahuah has commanded us to. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. Man or woman can take it. All right. And Yahuah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his son, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, may Yahuah bless us and keep us. May Yahuah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. So, okay. All right, y'all. So I don't think there's anything else that I didn't answer on both places. Okay. All right, y'all. So I'll go ahead and get those things posted in the comment section in the description box. Just be on the lookout for it. And I'll see y'all back here tomorrow bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.